600 years ago, someone carved a road into a mountain no one was supposed to find. In August 2026, a laser beam found it first. Machu Picchu just got bigger and stranger. Stay with me, because what's hiding under that ancient city changes everything we thought we knew. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. No, keep them open. You're watching this after all, but let your mind go there with me anyway. Picture the green shoulders of the Andes, wrapped in cloud, the way they've looked for 1,000 years before anyone with a camera ever stood on them. Somewhere below the ridgeline, stone terraces climb the mountainside like the rungs of a ladder built for giants. This is Machu Picchu. You've seen the postcards, you've seen the sunrise photos, the llamas grazing on impossible green, the fog burning off the peak of Huayna Picchu. But what you haven't seen, what almost no one has seen until now, was hiding just beneath the trees the whole time. Notice how certain places feel like they're keeping a secret. Machu Picchu has always felt that way, hasn't it? A city built in the clouds, abandoned, rediscovered, photographed 1 billion times, and still somehow unfinished in what it's told us. That feeling you have, that quiet sense there's more to it than the guidebooks let on. You were right. Because just this month, in August of 2026, researchers pointed lasers into the forest around Machu Picchu and found something that had been sitting there, untouched, breathing under the leaves, for 500 years. Let's go back for a second, because to understand how big this is, you have to remember how this place was found the first time. In 1911, an American explorer named Hiram Bingham hiked up through that same cloud forest, led by a local farmer, and stumbled onto stone walls so overgrown with moss and roots that he almost couldn't tell they were walls at all. The world called it a discovery, but it wasn't, not really. Machu Picchu had never been lost to the people who lived in these mountains. It had only been lost to us. And even then, even after more than a century of excavation, tourism, and study, the forest was still hiding more than anyone realized. Here's what happened this time. A team of researchers used a technology called LiDAR, light detection and ranging, to scan the cloud forest surrounding the citadel, near a section known as the Mandor Wall. Think of it like X-ray vision for a jungle. The equipment fires thousands of laser pulses down through the canopy every second. Most of those pulses bounce off leaves and branches, but some slip through the gaps, all the way down to the forest floor, and bounce back a perfect three-dimensional map of whatever the trees have been concealing. Every wall, every step, every stone the jungle swallowed. When the data finally came back, it revealed something extraordinary. More than 2.5 kilometers of pre-Hispanic roads and possible platforms, threading through the forest. Roads that don't appear on a single map, in a single guidebook, in a single Instagram post. 2.5 kilometers of road that nobody knew was there. Let that settle for a second. Millions of people have walked the Inca Trail. Millions have stood at that famous overlook and felt their breath catch in their chest. And this entire time, an unmapped network, roads and maybe platforms, maybe structures, built by hands that vanished 5 centuries ago, was lying quietly in the trees, just out of sight. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a road. But nothing the Inca built was just anything. The Inca Empire wove together one of the most staggering transportation systems in human history, the Chapacñan, the Royal Road, stretching an estimated 40,000 kilometers across mountains, deserts, and jungle, from what is now Colombia down through Peru into Chile and Argentina. No wheels, no horses, just stone, sweat, and an almost supernatural understanding of the landscape. Along these roads stood tambos, way stations where travelers could rest, and kulkas, storehouses where the empire kept reserves of maize, dried potatoes called chuño, and quinoa, so that runners and armies alike never went hungry on the climb. fried potatoes called chuño and quinoa, so that runners and armies alike never went hungry on the climb. Special messengers, the chasqui, sprinted in relays along these very kinds of paths, carrying news across the empire faster than any horse could manage in a land with no horses at all. Some accounts suggest a message could travel hundreds of miles in just a few days. These roads weren't casual paths. They were arteries, carrying messengers, carrying armies, carrying llama caravans loaded with textiles and food, carrying pilgrims toward sacred sites nestled high in the mountains, places the Inca called huacas, spots where the mountain itself was believed to be alive and listening. And Machu Picchu sat inside that circulatory system, not as an isolated postcard for tourists, but as a living, breathing hub, connected, fed, defended, worshipped in, by roads we are only now beginning to fully see. Think for a moment about what actually moved along a road like this one. Not just soldiers, not just kings. Food, real, ordinary food, carried on the backs of llamas and the shoulders of porters, up switchbacks cut into solid rock. Freeze-dried potatoes, the chuño I mentioned, made by leaving potatoes out in the brutal cold of high-altitude nights and stomping the moisture out of them by day. A preservation trick so effective the same method is still used in Andean villages today. Toasted maize. Dried llama meat called charqui. Yes, that's where the word jerky ultimately comes from. Coca leaves, chewed to fight the thin mountain air. Every one of those foods has a story, a recipe, a reason it survived centuries of climbing these exact roads. And somewhere along this newly revealed stretch, someone almost certainly walked with a sack of it on their back, feet aching, breath short, never once imagining that 500 years later, strangers on the other side of the world would be straining to picture their footsteps. That's what a road really is when you strip away the archaeology jargon. It's a story of hunger and effort and home, frozen in stone. Feel that for a second. Let it sit with you. So ask yourself this: if the Inca built roads this precisely, this permanently, engineered to survive earthquakes and centuries of relentless mountain rain, why would a stretch of them simply disappear from history? They didn't disappear. We just stopped looking in the right way. For 500 years, the forest did what forests do. Roots split stone, slow and patient, one growing season at a time. Vines swallowed walls whole. Soil crept in, inch by inch, year by year, until what had once been a road wide enough for a llama caravan looked, to the human eye, like nothing more than a wrinkle in the hillside, a trick of shadow and moss. Explorers walked past it. Archaeologists walked past it. Even Bingham himself, credited with discovering Machu Picchu for the outside world over a century ago, likely walked within feet of paths he never knew were there, never could have known, because the human eye simply cannot see through a living forest. That's the part that should give you chills. It isn't that this road was lost in some far-off, unreachable corner of the world. It was close. It was near the very heart of one of the most visited, most photographed, most studied archaeological sites on Earth. Hidden in plain sight the entire time, because the human eye, even a trained one, even an obsessive one, cannot see through a forest the way a laser can. Which raises the question this discovery leaves hanging in the air, unanswered, humming quietly in the back of your mind. What else is still down there? If 2.5 kilometers of road stayed invisible for 5 centuries, within walking distance of a UNESCO World Heritage Site, studied by thousands of researchers with all our modern tools, what's hiding in the parts of the Andes nobody has scanned yet? What other roads, platforms, terraces, or structures are sitting quietly under the canopy right now, this evening, as you listen to this? somewhere in that cloud forest, there may be a plaza no living person has stood in for 500 years. A staircase built for a ceremony we've never heard of and can no longer name. A wall that was the last thing someone touched before they turned and walked away, and never came back, and no one ever knew to look for them. And here's something researchers themselves have been careful to say out loud. This is likely only the beginning. LiDAR surveys like this one are still being expanded across the wider region around Machu Picchu, section by section, valley by valley. Every new scan is another chance to find another wall, another staircase, another road nobody alive has ever walked. The scientists studying this site aren't calling it finished, they're calling it a start. Which means, quite literally, that somewhere in an office right now, someone may be looking at fresh laser data, watching a shape resolve out of static that no human being has seen in 500 years. And you and I are hearing about it before most of the world even knows to ask. This is what makes this story so much bigger than one archaeological headline scrolling past on your phone. It's a reminder, a genuinely humbling one, that we do not actually know the past as well as we think we do. We know the parts of it that survived in daylight, in stone that stayed exposed, in ruins tourists could photograph and postcards could sell. But history, real history, is patient. It doesn't need us to find it on any particular schedule. It simply waits. Under root systems, under centuries of leaf litter, under our own quiet assumption that everything worth finding has already been found. And now, technology is finally catching up to that patience. This same kind of laser scanning has already rewritten entire chapters of the ancient world, revealing lost cities beneath the jungles of Central America, uncovering forgotten settlements in places archaeologists had walked over for generations without ever knowing what lay just beneath their boots. Machu Picchu, arguably the single most famous ruin on the planet, photographed more than almost any place on Earth, just proved that even our best-known secrets still have more secrets folded quietly inside them. So, the next time you see that iconic photograph, the terraces, the peak of Huayna Picchu rising behind them, the mist curling low through the ruins, I want you to notice something different. Look past the postcard. Because somewhere just beyond that frame, under the trees nobody photographs, there is a road that was walked by people whose names we will never know, carrying food we can still trace the recipes for, heading toward a place we haven't found yet. That's the real secret of the past, isn't it? It was never really lost. It was only ever waiting, patiently, quietly, for someone to look with the right kind of eyes. If this kind of story pulls at something in you, that quiet, electric feeling of a mystery finally cracking open after 500 years of silence, you already know what to do. Subscribe, stay close, because the past is still speaking right now from underneath the trees. We're just now learning how to listen.